Hello everyone, I'm Robyn Grable, the founder of Talents Ascend and the Ascend Collective, and your host for Ascending Beyond Barriers. Welcome. Ascending Beyond Barriers is an inspiring podcast dedicated to showcasing the remarkable journeys of small business founders who have faced and overcome significant challenges on their path to success. Each episode delves into the personal stories of entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds, highlighting their unique experiences, struggles, and triumphs. Today, I'm excited to welcome Rich Vaill. He's a U.S. Navy Academy graduate, a Marine Corps veteran and accomplished entrepreneur. With over 15 years of military service, including leadership roles during Operation Sharp Edge and the Gulf War, Rich brings discipline, strategy, and precision to everything he does. After a 30-year career in finance, he became the majority owner of Custom Marketing Solutions, a disabled veteran-owned commercial printing company. Today, Rich helps businesses, especially veteran and small pharma companies, turn print marketing into a high-impact tool for growth. His mission: to prove that smart print is more than a cost, it's a catalyst for success. Hi, Rich. Thank you so much for being here. We've been connected for a while and haven't really talked much. And I know we've talked several times about, you working with us. And so I'm just honored that you're here. And I'm happy that you found your place there at the where you're at, Custom Marketing Solutions. It's just so exciting. And I see all your posts. You're just such a big advocate for the military community, and we really appreciate you. So welcome.
Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to record this podcast. I look forward to our conversation today.
Yeah. So Naval Academy, yay. My oldest granddaughter is aspiring to be an astronaut. So she's kind of going back and forth between MIT, Embry-Riddle, Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, which is all very scary to me because I can't imagine my granddaughter going anywhere out into the world. But what prompted you to go into the Naval Academy?
Yeah, that was, in fact, I just said this to my daughter the other day. Ironically, I said, I don't know how I got through. Like, I look back and I think to myself, it was so, I found it from my day until graduation day, it was so difficult. It really was. I just struggled in a lot of different things. But, it was funny because it really goes back to, I was about 11 or 12, I think, and I was probably just sitting in our den watching some TV, eating a bowl of Captain Crunch or something, as a 12-year-old would do. Probably not too far off what I was doing last Saturday. But so my father walked in and happened to hand me a bunch of brochures to the service academies. And I don't know, something about them just kind of grabbed onto me. And I said, this is something, it was almost like a mission or a calling. Even at that young age, you kind of feel that pull. Yeah. And ironically, my fifth grade teacher who wrote to me when I was in the Gulf War, her son also went to the Naval Academy, was an F-18 pilot, Top Gun pilot. And she wrote me a letter and she said, I remember the day that you walked into my classroom and said that you wanted to go to the Naval Academy. So goes all the way back to I was about 12 years old, and it was just something that I felt like I had to do. And listen, I applied to all the service academies, because I think they're all great institutions, and I would have gone anywhere. I really would have. I would have said yes to any of them. But Naval Academy was my first choice, and that was something that I was very happy to get there. But even I remember that first night thinking to myself, was this the right decision? Because it's so overwhelming, and it just, everything kind of, it's like drinking from a fire hose, there's just so much coming at you at once. But once you settle down and realize that everybody's kind of screwing up and everybody's having second thoughts, and you just put your head down and start grinding it out. So yeah, it was just, that's kind of the story, to be honest with you. It was just. Wow.
Was there a reason why at 12 years old he gave you the brochures? Like, were you a troublemaker, Rich?
Honestly, I wasn't. I think it was funny because I had a grandfather who was a World War I vet in the Army. My father didn't serve, but I think he just thought it was something I may have an interest in. And I don't know, maybe he was just, looking to rent my room out. I don't know, but he was just
More like he
you know,
was intuitive to your mission
yeah,
in
I think he
life.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an only child,
Okay.
so I was real close with my parents growing up, and I guess he and I always had a pretty good relationship. So I guess maybe he sensed something
Right.
that maybe I thought it was. Maybe he thought this is going to be a challenge. He wanted to see something that would challenge me, and boy
Yeah.
did it ever. So,
Yeah.
but
No doubt.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate. My first, I'd never been on an airplane before when I flew down for basic training, and I'd always had problems with my ears. And by the time I got off the plane from Indianapolis to Orlando, I was in such pain. And so I get to the first, we get to the base, and it's the middle of the night. And I'm thinking the same thing. What in the world have I done to myself?
Yeah, yeah.
Why did I do this? Well, so I relate. So, okay, why did you choose the Marine Corps then? So you go to the Naval Academy. What made you choose Marine Corps over the Navy?
Yeah, so it's funny how people and things inspire you. So when I was in high school, I got selected to go to Boy State, which is a program. In fact, ironically, my neighbor across the street just attended. So I grew up in Staten Island. So and each state has a Boy State where you come in, and I don't know how many there are, 500-600 boys from across the state, and it's a big thing about teaching you about politics, which I mean, I was honored to go. Obviously, it was actually a good check in the block for trying to get into one of the service academies, and so I was selected. One of me and another guy from my high school got selected to go, and but I remember that. So in order to control 500-600 young men, you have to have some discipline in place, and they had Marine Corps drill instructors who were in charge of keeping us in line. And they didn't have any problem with that. And I'm going to date myself. This is over 40 years. I still remember his name, Sergeant Dietz. I still remember this guy. He was probably about 6'2", around 220, and was just loud and intimidating. And I thought, yeah, I said, this is definitely something that it kind of drew me in, right? The Marine and the aura. And I said, well, if I get to the Naval Academy, I'm going to select Marine Corps as my service. So,
That's awesome.
just again, and there were just so many impressive Marines at the Naval Academy, and listen, across the board is impressive officers, but there was a few Marines that stood out for me when I was there that just kind of solidified my decision to go that direction.
Well, they certainly have the best dress uniform, that's for sure. I've
They
been in the Navy for almost 9 years, and I had never seen a Marine in dress uniform until I went to Quantico for programming school. And I was like, oh my gosh, had I ever saw that uniform before, I probably would have chosen the Marine Corps as well, because it's just so, my gosh, it's just impressive. So, all right, so years in finance, now you are running custom marketing solutions with truly a mission, which is just impressive. But how did you go from the finance world? Well, how did you go from the Marine Corps to the finance world to now what you're doing today?
Yeah, and I guess growing up in New York, it's like one of the industries that kind of stand out for you is finance, and I
Sure.
thought, well, I'm going to come home and make my fortune in finance. But so as I came home and networked my way into a job it was at Merrill Lynch, and ended up on an institutional trading floor, and that kind of started my career. Now I spent some time on the institutional side, I spent some time on the investment side, and kind of finished it up in retail banking, in sales. Did some things with 1031 exchanges and real estate too, but yeah, I guess it just kind of drew me in. Just being from New York, you kind of feel that pull. And a lot of my friends who I'd grown up with had gone into finance, or it's some form of finance. So that seemed to be the natural path. I did take I was a logistics officer in the Marine Corps, so I took a little bit of a sidetrack for a little while as a fleet manager for a beverage company, and did that for a couple of years, and decided that I liked finance better. So went back into that. So yeah, it was a long career. I saw a lot of different things, and just pretty interesting stuff, really was.
Yeah. So what do you think you learned in the Marine Corps that has brought you success in now running a company?
It's funny. I think one of the main things is the ability to, I guess, manage relationships, right? Because,
Yeah.
it's one thing to say, oh, I'm a lieutenant or a captain, and just say, well, I'm in charge, but that's not, you can't leave that way. You've got to, even as a Marine and as an officer, it's important to kind of get that buy-in, right? So everyone understands the mission, and not that everybody has to agree with all of your decisions, but if they're buying into the way you're leading, then it makes it a lot easier. They understand. And I think just being able to take that from the military and, manage relationships, and listen, managing civilian relationships, as you know, is a lot different than managing Marines or leading Marines, right? Managing those relationships, because at the end of the day, they have to do what you say, but it certainly helps in that. And the other thing I think is, just being in the service, you're kind of dealing with chaos on a regular basis, and that is something that certainly helps you, organize the chaos a little bit to be able to navigate some projects or problems along the way, and just stay focused on the mission. So I'd say those two things would probably stand out a lot for me.
Yeah. Do you think, and we deal with this a lot because we're a skills-based model, do you feel like that is something that's very undervalued in veterans in the civilian market today?
I do. I think there's probably, there's three reasons why vets struggle when they come out. One, I think a lot of them don't know what they want to do because they're kind of told what they do. Yeah. So that's a struggle to figure that out. Yeah. The other part of it is explaining what it is they did. Explaining that, well, I was a lieutenant, I was a sergeant, I was a petty officer. For a lot of people, that doesn't mean anything. Right. Versus if you said, well, I was a small team leader, I was a middle level manager. And I think the other side of that is that I think, and maybe it's less so now, but HR or recruiters may not understand even just the basic rank structure to say, well, what's the difference between a sergeant and a captain? I don't understand that. Yeah. Is there a big difference? And in terms of what they do and what their responsibilities are, I think those are three reasons. I think that's why we as a whole, I think we struggle. Yeah. But we bring so many soft skills to the table. I think we may have spoken about this in the past, but I was lucky enough to run the Marine for Life program in New Jersey for a couple of years. I went back on active duty, and in 2003, and I was the hometown link, basically a project manager. And it was my job to help Marines transition out of the Marine Corps and help them find jobs. And I think a lot of them said, well, I guess based upon my background, I guess law enforcement seems to make the most sense. And I said, well, if that's something you want to do, go for it, because that's a great career. But you don't have to do that. You bring so many other soft skills to the table that are valued in all industries. Yeah. Doesn't matter, finance, printing, HR, recruiting, logistics, anything could value those soft skills.
Should value them. Yeah, I think that's the problem that we see is that, they're told, like when I got out of the Navy, and this was a long time ago, but unfortunately it hasn't changed all that much since then. I was told my skills didn't translate. I couldn't transfer them to anything else. And no one would understand what I did in the military, and as a female, why I was even in the military. So, and I think it's still part of our society today, and it's getting worse because less people serve. The majority of Americans don't serve or have any connection to the military. So how do we fix that? It's probably a rhetorical question, but how do we fix that? Because we need the military. Do people not understand what the military does for us on a daily basis? It gets me so riled up. I just don't understand how we can take it for granted and then expect that people want to volunteer to get paid, very low wages to protect our freedom, be away from their families, make all those sacrifices, have military spouses have an unemployment rate of 21% that we can't seem to fix. I'm getting on my soapbox now, but it's just bothersome. So we'll turn it to a more positive light here. How are you doing what you do to make printing more catalyst for success? So let's talk about what you're doing today at Custom Marketing Solutions. I could go off on my soapbox a long time.
You lead both. I feel the same way. The good thing is that you're always running across people that know someone in the military. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny, the minute I say that I served as a Marine, inevitably someone will say, oh, my father was a Marine, or my brother's a Marine, or I have a son who's in the Marine Corps,
Yeah.
or I have a daughter's in the Marine Corps. So it's I get that a lot. But yeah, this has been a great journey so far. If you had told me 3 years ago that I'd own a printing company, I would have said I don't know what you were talking about, but it was one of those things that just happened. I was looking to leave finance and get into another industry, maybe, and just looking for kind of a sales role, maybe a sales management role, and like I like to say, happened to be sitting next to the right guy at a networking event, who asked me for my resume, and next, he connected me up with soon to be my partners here in this business, and they were looking for someone to take over, and I guess a disabled vet, and we're a disabled veteran-owned business, and they needed someone to take over the role. The current president was looking to make a change as well, and it was like timing. It was just, like I said, I just feel very, very blessed, very lucky that I was sitting next to this gentleman, and having this opportunity kind of presented before me. But it's been exciting. I don't know. I'm still learning about printing, right? I guess I've always had an interest in marketing from a standpoint, or even been in banking. You'd see some things, brochures or things sent out, and I'd be thinking to myself, what are you thinking? Like, this doesn't resonate. This doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate with me. What do you think is going to resonate with a client? So I guess I've always had an interest in that. So the opportunity to be within that industry has been exciting, and there's a lot to learn. And I'm lucky I have a ton of great people around me that point me in the right direction, or answer my stupid questions, and are able to help me navigate things. But being an entrepreneur, it's like drinking from a fire hose. There's just a lot of things to keep an eye on. Business, finance, insurance, not to mention your team, leading your team, and HR, and it's just, there's a lot to take on, but I really enjoy it. It's challenging, and I get my butt kicked every day, but that's all right. That's kind of used to that at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you're a Marine. I mean,
That's right. Yeah.
So a couple
Yeah.
points in there I want to capitalize on, because I think it's really important for people to hear. You need to, especially for veterans, being able to transfer their skills, or military spouses being able to take their skills to something new. You have to be open-minded to the possibilities that are out there. Like, you were just
Yeah.
sitting next to this person, wasn't even thinking about marketing or anything like that, but to be open to that possibility. Because had you been closed-minded, you would have been like, marketing's not my thing,
Yeah.
right? And you would have missed the opportunity. So I think that's an important point of being open-minded about the possibilities that are out there, and that if you truly look at your transferable skills, you could do almost anything. And
Yeah.
so, but the other thing is networking is super key. You never know where you're going to meet somebody who can connect you to the next person, to a next opportunity. Again, being out there, spend time networking, and not just applying for things or looking
Right.
for things online.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the networking, from a BD, from a business development standpoint, from a job search standpoint, from anything like that, it's just it's so important to get out there and just have conversations, and don't press it. Just have a conversation. People are interested. If you're a young vet and you come home, and I've said this, I've had some HR folks or recruiters come up to me and they say, how do I engage with veterans? I said, just ask them about what they've done. Simple question. Tell me about some of the things you've done. Tell me about some of the things that were challenging for you and how you overcame them. Tell me your story. I think most vets, it may take a little bit, but they'll come out and and they'll tell you their story and be happy to share that with you. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, but that's just a great way. People are interested. People are interested in the story, and just get out there and network and be willing to have some conversation with people that you may or may not have been willing to walk up to in the past.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talk about that a lot because our skills translation helps people take a look at what those skills are, and then you can start to form a story around that. So you're not having to justify what you did in the military or that nobody understands, or what your title was. Doesn't matter. Here's the skills that I have. I can talk about the skills and how I applied those skills and how real
Right.
world experience in using those skills really matters. So we feel really good about the mission we're on to help people start to tell those stories in plain language that people truly understand. I don't think you're right. I don't think people ask enough. Even just where were you stationed? Like where, because that gets the conversation going. Like,
Right. Right.
I was stationed in Iceland for 2 years. Wow, and the conversation goes on from there. So well, what do you think so far as an entrepreneur? What has been your biggest lesson that you've learned?
Wow. There's a lot of lessons. I think a lot of it is just learning to balance
Yeah.
everything. I guess I naturally lean towards the networking and the maybe strategy a little bit, but it's just understanding that balance. That keep trying to keep an eye on everything. And like I said, I'm lucky. I've got some really great people around me. So I acquired this business. I didn't start it, and that's another path that I think veterans can find is
Sure.
obviously entrepreneurship through acquisition, but just maintaining that balance. As a friend and coach likes to say to me, kind of manage your energy, because it's you never know. You never know, right? You just never know what's going to come up. You need to be able to have that energy to get through that. So
Absolutely. And it is a roller coaster ride for sure. I mean, we've had some high highs and some low lows in
yeah,
our 7 years that we've been around. And it is tough. And as an entrepreneur, as the business owner, you can sometimes get into that depression of what is happening, what am I doing wrong, or why isn't this going right, or what do I need to do next, and what do I not know that I need to know, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So yeah, and just give yourself a break when you're going through those times. So, tell us about a great success story you've had with one of your clients. So, what's been your most fun?
Yeah, it's so I've been able to work with some veterans and their businesses, and
Huh?
have really helped them with their lot. I mean, one of the things we've been focusing on is helping with their trade show setup. So had a new client who was coming into a trade show, and they didn't have a lot. They didn't have a lot set up. They just were trying to start from scratch, and we were able to help them with putting together a package that was within their budget, but really hit the mark for them. And he sent me some pictures, and I posted it on LinkedIn, and it just came out really great. I think they were really happy with the results. And something I've been really focused on lately is just you know treating print more than just like an afterthought. Like, it should be part of your strategy. If
Okay.
tie it to a campaign, tie it to your plan. It's like intention, not just ink. It's just
Right.
really focus on what you want it to achieve, versus, oh, I need business cards, I need brochures. What are you trying to get to?
Yeah.
What's your point? It should be part of your marketing.
Yeah.
And it's a good lever that you could pull to help with growth. So, and that's one of the things I've been really trying to advocate with our clients. Really leverage it, because there's a lot of opportunities to gain market share and get some client attention from it.
Yeah. So I mean, we are in a digital world. So
Yep.
how do you? But I still love. I mean, I love reading a book. I love holding the book. I love the magazine. I still love touching whatever I'm seeing, and I love brochures and all of that stuff too. But in this digital world, how are we adapt, or how are you adapting as a marketing company to not needing print as much, or is the need still there?
I definitely think it's still there. Well, I say to folks, when you receive an email, what do you like an email you don't recognize? What do you usually do? You usually delete it, without even opening it, right? Because you're a little concerned, right? Unless it's from someone you know or something you're
Right.
expecting. If it's a lot of the times it just goes to your spam file anyway.
Yeah.
Versus if you receive a postcard or a flyer at home,
Yeah.
you're probably going to pick it up. You may recycle it, right? You may throw it away, but you're probably going to at least pick it up. You may even keep it, thinking to yourself, I may need this, right? It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So I think, and a lot of our clients still use hard print as part of their marketing, because sometimes digital just doesn't get there for them for whatever reason. And obviously that's an important part too. Again, it goes back to balance, right? You need that balance of digital and print and social media. And it just, there's a lot of things, a lot of tools you can use to, to get your word out there. And I think print is an important part. We're still seeing a lot of people print. So, which is good. It's a good thing.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Well, I think the point as we close out, for me, the important part of what you said was know your business and take the time to understand what your business needs are, because maybe you don't need business cards, but you do need a brochure, or maybe you need a flyer, because I think people go into business because they have a mission. There's something they want to fix, or there's something product they want to bring out. But all the other aspects of business take time to really think through. And when you don't, that's when you pay the dummy tax that we've certainly paid a lot of. So
yeah, it's funny you say dummy tax. I remember going through the basic school down at Quantico, and that we'd always say, dummy cord everything to yourself. Tie whatever it was you were carrying just on your on your uniform while you were on going through the field, and make sure you dummy cord everything. And I think I've said that, kind of kidding with my kids. I'm like, I've told them what dummy cord is, and they always got a good laugh about that. So when I heard that term, I started laughing. So yeah.
That's awesome. All right, Rich. Well, we're out of time, unfortunately. Thank you so much for being on today and sharing your story and really just helping veterans and all that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I love this opportunity to speak and to have a conversation with you. Thank you very much.